Okay, so as a land investor, the first question I get asked a lot is how do I even find a property? How do I find a market? Where do I look? Where do you even find land for sale? And so the first answer to that question is initially the United States is huge, right? It's a ginormous country. But with that being said, the key to finding land, it's not necessarily just finding a piece of property, but you have to find a buyer for that property, right? Otherwise, what's the point of buying property? You can buy it anywhere. I can go to Montana, I can go to North Dakota, I can go to South Dakota, I can go to Idaho, but are people moving there? Are there going to be buyers there? If there are, then that's a market, right? But my goal is to find properties that I can sell within averaging 60 to 90 days. The longest I've held a property personally is 120 days. And it was a problem property, and I'll talk to you guys more about that one later. But I want to find an area that is active. I want to find somewhere where people are moving, or there are people buying, or people are really desiring land. And so when you look at Zillow is a great tool for the land investor. It is a free marketing tool to figure out where in the world people are buying property. No login necessary, totally free. So when I first started land, my mentor told me, he's like, where would you want to buy land? And I was like, well, I've always liked Arizona. And so my first little walk into land investing was in Arizona. When you go to Arizona, what's really cool is there's a lot of people still buying land there. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of activity in the state of Arizona. And so what I did initially is I went to, here's a quick free website. I went to Arizona County Map. Okay. Pulled this up and I began to look at the counties in Arizona. Well, once you do that, what you're able then to do is you can go and find an active market within these counties. And so what I did initially is I went to Mojave County. That was the video I just showed you last time. So I went into here, I went into Zillow, and I went into Mojave County, Arizona. And I began to look for property that is selling in Mojave County. This looks like a lot. There's 2,369 results. So we had to narrow that down a little bit. I want to see what's happened in the last 6 months to 90 days usually. That's kind of my time frame, just because that shows the most recent kind of active data in that county, in that area. So what I do is I go in and I put in the sold in the last 90 days and I try to find a market. You can kind of select your qualifiers. Do you want 50-acre parcels? Are you looking for less? What are you kind of looking for? You can really put anything in there. You can even put a price in there. You don't want to find areas that are selling for more than $50,000 or less than, let's just say less than 5,000. So we want to find between 50 and 5. Perfect. Here's a market, right? In the last 90 days, a lot of property has been bought and sold here. This might be a place to try. In the last 90 days, a lot of property has been bought and sold here. This might be an area to try. All you're doing is looking for activity. You want to find something that you can both afford and that you can sell. Finding the seller is not always the hard part. It is to a degree, because you have to get a deal, right? You have to find the property cheap enough to make the difference. You want to be buying a property at 20 to 30% of retail value. So if the retail value in an area is $20,000, you want to be paying $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 for the property, because you want the difference, right? And you want to kind of come in below retail value, because when you come in below retail value, your property is a little bit more attractive than those other properties in the area. And so that's all that I did when I was trying to figure out where I want to start buying land. I tried to find an active market, and here in Mojave County, Arizona, it was an active market. My first property was right up in here. This is the one that I was just talking about. I found an area where there was activity. So when you are trying to figure out land investing, that's the first thing you have to figure out is, where do I want to buy land? Okay. Find a state, find any city, any county, any area that you know of that there might be activity. Access Google and or Zillow and figure out where the activity is. So a lot of people right now, a big place is Oklahoma. right? And I've bought land in Oklahoma. I'm buying some hopefully pretty soon. Oklahoma is a very active market. There's people moving up from Texas to get to Oklahoma to buy hunting land. So there's a lot of activity in Oklahoma. I've bought land in Florida. Florida is a very hot market. I've bought a couple of properties in Florida and I've made good money on it. The problem with going into an extremely active market like Florida is that you have more competition. Your offers have to be a little higher. You have to move a little quicker. There's a lot of wetlands. These are all things that you'll learn as you get into land investing. But the key to it is really just doing it, right? Massive imperfect action. There's a guy named Tom Kroll talks about it all the time, taking massive imperfect action. Every step you take doesn't have to be exact, doesn't have to be perfect. Personally, I would avoid areas like Montana. You know, you're going to find activity in Montana, but it's going to be very few and far between. North Dakota, once again, you're going to find activity in North Dakota. It's going to be very few and far between. You want to find markets where people are buying and are willing to sell their property. So that's the key to figuring out, okay, hey, land investing sounds cool. It sounds like something I might be interested in. Where in the world do I find land? Where do I even look for a market for this? And this is the first key to getting started in land investing. So if you have any questions, shoot me a message on here, talk to me about it. I'd be happy to help you with anything that you might have, and ready to assist you in any way that I can.